Hello there, I'm Nu-Trix, and today we're diving into a new synthesizer from Cherry Audio. This one is a Jupiter-8 recreation called the Mercury-8. It has the Jupiter-8 sound and feel, but it has the Cherry Audio DNA in it. You'll see. Everybody talks about the Jupiter-8 as being, one of the most mythical vintage synthesizer. Why is that? Well, first of all, it came in a moment in time when you started to see polyphonic synthesizer, in this case, 8 voice, Jupiter-8. It was the high. It was the summit of it was the pinnacle of the polysynth at that point. Early 80s, 81, before MIDI came out. After MIDI and digital came in, FM took over everything, and sampling and analog basically went away for a couple of years, not to say decades, and it came back in 2000. But this was polyphonic. That was something rarely seen to this level. This was also very cool because it has a digital interface to connect to other devices. It has the DCB, if I'm not mistaken, a digital communication bus from Roland. So it was kind of a pre-MIDI system that permits Roland gear to talk to Roland gear. Like every big company had at the time had a proprietary system before MIDI came in. Then everything went MIDI. Now, I cannot compare the virtual version to the hardware one because I don't have one. I mean, I've seen some of them go on for like more than 30 grand online, which is mind-blowing. Anyway, the problem with older pieces of the hardware is that they're 40 years old, and unless they've been meticulously maintained, they sound old. I mean, meaning the envelope's sloppy, the filter doesn't really, work the same way. It gradually doesn't sound like the original piece of gear. So it's hard to compare older analog piece of gear with virtual one that mimics the original. In this one, you can change that condition of the hardware. So it's really well programmed. I remember playing with the Jupiter-8 in the 90s at the school that I was in, learning synthesis and music production. And the experience of playing with the Mercury-8 is basically the same one. You have access to the same feature. It sounds the same, to not able to compare in real time, but it sounds mostly the same type of sound. But then there's a lot more. Like everything that Cherry Audio is offering, there's always more stuff to it. Let's just dive in. I'll show you all about it. You have the top section, which is basically the synthesis. Then you add ways of controlling with the arpeggiator and the way the different layers work together and the notes and all that stuff. And then the sequencer. So mostly how to play it. Then you get the keyboard and some reaction of how values from the keyboard can control the synthesis. Then at the bottom row here, when you click on effect, you will have 3 lines of series of effects. You've got the upper, so specifically for the upper synth, because there's 2 synthesizers in the Jupiter-8. You have the upper and the lower. So upper has its own sets of effects. Lower also have its own sets of effects. And you've got the global, which is on everything. So there's a lot of effects here. And it's just, I mean, if you don't know Cherry Audio, you should. The effects are high quality and they sound really cool. And there's a lot of controls on them. Some of them even have their own sequencer built in. So it's really cool to play with that. So I mean, if you're interested, you put a comment below and I could do a video just about the effects that you see. And all of the new Cherry Audio synthesizer have these effects at the bottom here. Of course, the original Jupiter-8 did not have effects. Let's actually go through the synthesis. I'm going to go into focus, which is here, so we can actually see really well what's happening. The Jupiter-8 is really a good synthesizer for even people who never used one, because it's meant to be understood very clearly. You have the VCO1, VCO2. All of these values here, they control the oscillator to all of these controls the value of VCO1, VCO modulators. That's where you control it. It's very graphic in the way that you follow it. So if you want to hear, let's say I'm going to go new. I'm going to just take a new synth, new sound, focus. So before we start playing with all of this, you need to understand this section here. So what do we have? We have a sine mode, and we have key mode and panel mode. Now, because this is a 2-synth synthesizer, meaning everything you see in the panel happens twice. You have it for the lower and for the upper. So if you're in whole mode, you only have one, which is the upper, that is active everywhere on the keys. So you've got the whole keys for just one sound, which uses all the voices. If you compare it to the Jupiter-8, it was 8 voices. In this case, you have up to 16 voices per layer. So if you're in whole, you see on a graphic here, you only see the top line, which is the red one, the upper. If you go in split, now it's split in 2. If I switch to, let's say I'm going to switch to keyboard here. See on the keyboard, there's even a split line here, meaning on that side, you've got the green, which is the lower sound, the lower patch if you want, and on the red, you've got the upper, which is the other sound, the upper sound. Now I go, well, it sounds the same because I just took a init sound and I use it. So if I'm going to cut, let's say this one here, okay, I have this one. If I go, you see, if I play here, I'm going between upper, lower, upper, and lower. So you've got 2 sounds. So you can easily have a bass line and a lead on the other side and just play it. So that's the logic behind this. And you can move that split somewhere else. You can even change the way you see here on split. When you click on it, you got more information. You have the fade, the layers, layer, and the crossfade. So you can decide to have, to finish this. So this section here, both of them, and then from that note on, only one of them. So there's a lot of controls here you can choose. Let's just have a normal split. So dual means that basically I'm going to have the 2 sounds, lower and upper, being played at the same time. So you've got 2 sounds. So you can have one that is very... That's the upper. And so what is important here is to understand that right now, the panel that I'm playing with here, as you see, has all red lines for the knobs and the faders because I'm on the upper one. If I click on lower, now they're green. So I'm actually working the panel of the sound that is the lower, but I hear the 2 of them. I still hear... If I go back to this one, so I hear the 2 of them. So by switching between upper and lower, I hear both of them playing at the same time, but I control which one I'm working on with the panel. If I press a layer solo, now I only hear the one that is active for the panel. If I go back to upper, so I can focus on that one, and then I turn it off. I hear the 2 at the same time. You also have the drift. Drift is the conditioning of the fact that it's older than brand new. So you've got different preset, brand new, in studio, road worn, 44 years of service, and it needs servicing. And if you click, when you switch between them, these are kind of presets. If you click on the different sections, see that the envelope slope is 80% drifting. The VCA is 80% drifting, VCF 80% drifting, and VCO 80% drifting. That's when it's serviced. It needs to be serviced. In studio, you're going to be 20, 10, 5, and 5. So you can have this to your own personal taste. It's going to be saved with the sound, and this is going to tell you that it's going to be an older version of the synthesizer or a brand new version or somewhere in between. So let's put it back to brand new just to hear how this, if it's new, stable, and all that stuff. Here you have control about the fact that you want it to be solo, so monophonic, unison, polyphonic 1 or 2. Polyphonic 1, basically, the first key you keep holding is going to stay. So it's about stealing notes if you want. But with 16 voice of polyphony, it's not a big deal. But if you want it to sound like the original, and you have a four voice for patch, let's say lower, then you could say, well, poly 1, meaning that if I hold a note and I play 3 notes, I play a fourth one, the one that was played earlier and it's still play will be kept. It will not steal it. There's just different ways to play it. And you have multi, which is weird. Multi is basically you can have 4 different generator of voices if you want. You see them here. And for each of them, you can decide if they change pitch, if they change the panning, if you change the VCF, the attack of the VCA, the release. Go second one. So I'm just going to do something weird here. So you have the first one, which is an octave, let's say lower. So the 3 voice, the 4 voice, they will have different values. So it could be one way to create very specific stuff that you want to do, or it can just be weird. I'm just playing the same key. And it goes between 3 different values. Okay, so it's fun, but it goes somewhere else than what we're used to. Let's go back to Poly 1. Okay, so what do we have here? Basically, if you look at the synthesis, you got VCO 1 and 2. What's interesting about a Jupiter-8 is the fact that you have cross modulation. Between 1 and 2, it creates all these kind of FME type of sound. You have ring modulation for the sync. You've got sync for the second one. So the second one can be in sync. And it's part of one of the very classic sounds from the Jupiter-8 uses the sync sound, and it just sounds really nice. You have different waveform for both of them. You get the range. This one has a floating range. This one does not. It's just fixed values, but it gives you the option of having auto-tune. It'll create chords. You have the pulse width modulation. You also have the LFO here and the modulation here. You want envelope to control the pitch. If you want LFO controls the pitch. So a lot of things. And then you can say, well, envelope's only going to be controlling the VCA2, for example. I'm going to put it in sync. And the envelope here is envelope 1. So you go to the other end and you have envelope 1. This is just cool. Then we got the filter, mixed of the 2 here. You got a cutoff high pass filter here, which has no other value than just a fixed one. You kind of control it. Whereas the VCF here with the cutoff point for the filter, the low pass filter, you have a slope, resonance, and how much envelope. And you can control using envelope 1 or 2. 2 being always, by default, assigned to volume, amplitude here. You got LFO modulation for the VCF. I can bring some filter modulation. I can bring the speed down. And if you want more modulation than this, then you've got envelope 1 and 2 with velocity and key follow and polarity. You can switch it around. What's interesting is this section here, which is solely new. You've got the modulation matrix, so you can select a source of modulation. I don't know, let's say the envelope 1, and I want it to be controlling the resonance of the filter. So stuff like that can be, and then you just bring the value you want. So basically, this is extended control that you don't see on the original one. Then you get an arpeggiator. The arpeggiator of the original Jupiter was very popular, very cool. This one has more feature. You get a chance, you get a feel. You get different ways to going up and down, arpeggiator, leap, order. It's an arpeggiator with a lot of features. So this is what we expect to have. But this one here is something we didn't have on the original one. You've got, per patch, you have 4 patterns you can play. I'm going to go note, this one here. And if you want to start it, you can loop normally, you can have a ping pong, you can randomize it, and then there's ways to control it also. You can have it on just the upper, just the lower, or all of them. So again, you can have a arpeggiator on, let's say, the lower part and a sequencer on the top part, and have 2 sounds playing at the same time. You actually have 2 synthesizers in the same box. And just play with some of the sounds. You know, you've got the original presets, like the all the original one, and you have them plus, meaning that same thing, but with the added features of effects, mostly, and some real-time control. Sometimes you got it has also aftertouch control. But if you go here, you have the collection. Oh, by the way, you can actually load system exclusive the original Jupiter-8 in here. Needs to follow a specific format, the Anchor Electronics format, but look in the manual, you're going to get the information. That's pretty clear there. So we get banks and banks of sounds. With aftertouch. Now, if you want to have a tour of the sounds, I made another video about 20 minutes long of just the presets. So watch that if you want that. But I just want to have you understand how this works and hear that it sounds. I mean, I like the motion one because it gives you control over stuff that you don't usually have on the Jupiter. But aftertouch you get. Keep in mind that you could actually click here to lock all the effects and change the sound, and the effects will stay. So that's one way to have kind of permanence of the sound, of the effects while you're changing this, and find something else that you want. Unlock and then it changes. So that's it. That's the Mercury-8, a Jupiter-8 sound with the DNA of Cherry Audio. Another big win for Cherry Audio. Now, if you want to have that, check it out. If you're looking for a Jupiter-8 as a software, you have to look at this one. Stay safe, make more music, and see you soon. Cheers.